So what happened after you graduated? Pretty much, online, but
Right.
still graduated.
I'm working. Like I said, I released so many projects. I was still putting out my music. I came to LA and I recorded a record, Don't Tell Nobody. It's one of my biggest records to date. And after that record went out, Timbaland called me.
Uh-huh.
After that record, he was in LA in the studio. You know, our producers always just playing what they working on. And the interns, I want to shout them out too. The interns are my boys. They played the record for Tim, and he instantly called me, just like that.
So you're sitting there, and you get a phone call, and the guy on the other end says, "This is Timbaland, who is one of the greatest music producers of all time, of any genre." You know what I'm saying? It goes back
King Timbo.
20-something years with,
Yeah, it was. I was nervous as hell.
I mean,
like,
did
that's
you
the
know,
biggest,
sorry to interrupt, but
It's
were you
good.
expecting his call, or did he just called out of the blue?
out of the blue? I didn't even know he had heard of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did one record out here, and they played it for him. Like, I had no idea. I thought, when my manager told me, like, Timbaland wants to speak to you, I thought she was joking with me. You know what I mean? Like, being funny. And we got on the phone. We talked for like 10 minutes, and we were flying out. Tim didn't want to, like, talk. He wanted to sit down and link.
Okay.
So it was pretty real. That's when I knew it was on.
So he's like, okay, I'm going to fly you out, and then boom.
Yeah, just like that.
Okay. So how long from that phone call to the actual flight?
3 days?
3 days
The same
later.
week? Yeah, like it was on. It was on. 3 days. It was no talking.
So he flew you out 3 days later to what city?
LA.
LA. Okay.
Yes.
So now you're in the studio with Timbaland.
Yep, I'm in the studio with this millionaire producer. It was crazy. It was crazy as hell. Like, one of the best moments of my life, just meeting him and talking to him and chopping it up like that. But yeah, we was in LA. We went to the studio. He took me for a ride in his, what kind of car? He was in his Maybach. We went for a ride in the Maybach.
Of course.
Yeah, he showed me a good time. Went out to eat and just talked. Yeah, it was just real warm and welcoming, you know.
Okay. So you guys go hang out,
Yeah.
grab some food, and then
Had
you
some
start
food.
going to work after that?
Yep. I think the next week we went to we went to Miami to the Hit Factory.
Okay.
And that was the following week. Like, it was no breaks, no pauses. He just went to work. We went to Miami. We started recording records. Tim was pulling out all the exclusive shit. Like, he really was like, basically, how can I put it? Tim was turned up, like turned the fuck up. We recorded a bunch of records. I think that's when we did Moving Bass. Like, I was showing out, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't signed to anyone yet, so I was just trying to show my pen game off. And yeah, after that, we started talking to the labels.
Okay, so you're in the studio with Timbaland.
Right.
No contracts, no nothing. This is all just, let's just see where it goes.
Right.
Kind of vibe. So is he actually creating the beats from scratch in front of you, or does he already have the beats?
He would already have them.
Okay.
You know, he would already have them, like a folder full of beats. And he'd go through them and, toss them to me, like, what would you do on this? Then he'll go back into his lab. I would go across the room to the other studio. And we'd be working at the same time, bouncing tracks back and forth.
Huh. So you guys are working in separate rooms, or?
Separate rooms. Because
Okay.
he produces, but he needs the entire studio to produce. He has, like, instruments, other producers coming in.
Yeah.
So, I need another room so I can have space and create too.
Okay, so you got the beat and you start just writing to the beat.
Yep.
And then what? You have your own engineer in that room?
It's two separate engineers.
Okay, so you got your own
Engineers.
booth and everything else like that. So you just go in there, lay down what you just wrote, and then what? You walk over and hand it back to him, or?
Yeah, like it's really very simple. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not complicated. We making music. Yeah, like Tim, we go in the studio at 11 p.m. and we leave out like 7 in the morning.
Okay.
So we really locked in. And yeah, once I was done, I would go over and knock on the door, tell him, can you listen to this? Check this out. I be nervous as fuck because, you know, I'm
It's Timbaland.
it's Timbaland, yes. But yeah, he was rocking with me. He fucked with everything that I put on his tracks. It was instant after that.
The thing about Timbaland is that he's not a beat maker. He's like a producer. You know what I mean? Like he's the full
Very
package.
correct.
He's not someone that just sends a bunch of beats out and then you do what you do and then y'all put it out.
Right,
Like,
he never does that.
he never does that.
Producers hate that.
So when you go and create your own, your own lyrics and everything on the song, how much do you guys actually sit down and he now starts putting his hands in it and starts, saying, what about this? What about this? Let's layer this.
Right.
Let's take this out, put this in, or et cetera, et cetera.
It's about like 70-30. Like I say, when I send him the track, he'll send me a track and it'll be bare. Like not everything is added in yet. So I write, send it back to him. We go home. A couple days later, he'll present the new track. So he adds.
Oh, so he adds instruments and everything
right.
to
After I'm done laying down what I have.
Moves around some of
he
the
adds
lyrics
on,
and stuff.
And then asks me
yeah.
what, do you hear anything I should take out? You know what I'm saying? And then we come back and it's make the final product.
Okay. So with Moving Bass, did I get the name right?
Moving Bass, yeah.
Moving Bass, right. So that was a Jay-Z Rick Ross track that he was working on, which wasn't out yet.
Right.
So he gave it to you and said, what, do your thing on it?
Yeah, like that way. He at the track. We in the studio, everybody's vibing, and Tim pulled that one out, and I had to. Like, I told him, like, Tim, let me finesse. I actually took it home. He put it on my iPod. He didn't email it. He put it on the iPod, and I took it to the hotel because I wanted to make sure it was like crazy, just so that he wouldn't just throw it out. So I took it to my room and I wrote it in my hotel room. I took like maybe the whole day. That night, the next night I came back and laid it. And what I did, Tim told me just to do me. So what I did, I'm like, man, I gotta make this shit pop. I wrote with Jay-Z's verse and, with Ross's verse in between, so some of the lyrics were there, some of the lyrics were mine. So we go back
like
to the studio.
finishing off their verses, and then they're kind of finishing off your verses.
Exactly.
And, it was dope. I remember when it came out, it was like, oh.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm so mad we never got to because of the bullshit, we couldn't really do a official release for it.
Timbaland shows up to the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, he's turned up.
You were there with him? I don't know.
Wasn't there.
You wasn't there. Okay, it was just Tim. Tim shows up at the Breakfast Club and says,
he didn't even tell me he was gonna do that shit. Like everything that happened was just like spontaneous as fuck, you know what I mean? Like I had no idea. And I'm so geeked up, I'm seeing like the tweets coming in, oh my God, this is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, where's this coming from? I didn't release, And then I went back and I'm like, Tim really got on air and they dropped that shit.
Right, well, because it was supposed to be on Ross's album?
Exactly. It wasn't.
And it never, I didn't know, see, I never knew it didn't come out. I just assumed that they just took you off and put out
it was a big deal.
the original version.
Ross was very upset. It was a big deal.
Right,
like
because it's a Jay-Z verse.
Behind the scenes, it was very big.
These aren't just lying
but
around.
Jay had heard it, you know what I'm saying? That's what most people didn't even know. Jay had heard the record.
Oh, Jay had heard your version.
He did.
And
he gave Tim approval. Like,
but it was Ross's song. Or what? Or was it Jay's song?
Well, you know how producers do. If they produce the song, it turns into, you know how the big producers, it's their song featuring.
Oh, so this was a Timbaland song?
Timbaland produced it.
I know he produced it, but
right.
Whose album was it supposed to be on?
We never know. I mean, I still don't know.
You see what I'm saying? Because Timbaland puts out his own albums. Jay puts out his own albums. Ross puts out his own albums.
I guess it was Ross's song, but Tim also felt it was his as well because he produced it.
Yeah.
So nobody's right, nobody's wrong, man. And at the end of the day, the song was dope. You feel me? Like that's what I was mad about. I'm like, forget the bullshit. Like the actual song, Moving Bass, Jay-Z, Ross, and Tink is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of whatever, I felt like had we resolved all the extra shit, the tension behind it, that song could have been a banger, like top 10.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that. Like, nobody had ever done that in a while, like a female to go in and take verses, two heavies in the game, but it got caught in a rapture, so, yeah. To this date, I still wish I could release that shit.
It's a dope song. I feel you. I feel your pain on this.
Yes.
So you're working with Tim, and you're unsigned, no contract, and then you say the label started calling. Was that because Timbaland starts giving them stuff, or what happens?
That was the thing. I was already speaking with a few labels, but once Timbaland stepped in, of course, you know, numbers change and direction changes, and things move a lot quicker. So that changed the conversations immediately. Like I say, when I first was in high school, like my senior year, when I'm going to see the labels, they weren't talking about anything. You know, it was things I could achieve on my own. But when Timbaland got involved, everything changed a lot.
So did you sign to, I mean, what is it, Mosely Music Group?
I'm signed to Mosely.
Yeah.
I make it clear. I'm signed to Mosely, which is Timbaland, and we had distribution through Epic.
Yeah.
But I'm signed to Mosely Music.
Okay, and Tim has his deal with Epic. And it's what, distributed through
we
Epic?
had
or?
distribution through Epic,
Yeah.
and Tim had a deal for his artist and his team. So
Who else is on Mosely aside from you?
no one at this point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember he had a bunch of artists over the years.
Yeah. I'm not no one, just myself. I meant to say I'm the only one signed, still signed.